Srimad Bhagavatam, translated with commentaries by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Canto 1, Chapter 5, Sri Narada's Instructions on Srimad Bhagavatam for Vyasadeva. Text 27. Let us all chant the glories of Vasudeva, along with his plenary expansions, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and Sankarshan. Purport. According to Pancharatra, Narayan is the primeval cause of all expansions of Godhead. These are Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. Vasudeva and Sankarshan are on the middle, left, and right. Pradyumna is on the right of Sankarshan, and Aniruddha is on the left of Vasudeva. Thus, the four deities are situated. They are known as the four aides de camp of Lord Sri Krishna. This is a Vedic hymn or mantra beginning with Omkar Pranava, and thus the mantra is established by the transcendental chanting process, namely Om Namo Dimahi, etc. The purport is that any transaction, either in the field of fruitive work or empiric philosophy, which is not ultimately aimed at transcendental realization of the Supreme Lord, is considered to be useless. Naradaji has therefore explained the nature of unalloyed devotional service by his personal experience in the development of intimacy between the Lord and the living entity by gradual process of progressive devotional activities. Such a progressive march of transcendental devotion for the Lord culminates in the attainment of loving service of the Lord, which is called prema, in different transcendental variegatedness called rasas, or tastes. Such devotional service is also executed in mixed forms, namely mixed with fruitive work or empiric philosophical speculations. Now, the question which was raised by the great Rishi, headed by Shaunaka, regarding the confidential part of Sutta's achievement through the spiritual master, is explained herein by chanting this hymn consisting of 33 letters. And this mantra is addressed to the four deities, or the Lord with his plenary expansions. The central figure is Lord Krishna, because the plenary portions are his aide-de-camp. The most confidential part of the instruction is that one should always chant and remember the glories of the Lord Sri Krishna, the Personality of Godhead, along with his different plenary portions, expanded as Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. These expansions are the original deities for all other truths, namely either Viṣṇu Tattva or Shakti Tattvas. Text 28. Thus, he is the actual seer who worships in the form of transcendental sound vibration, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Viṣṇu, who has no material form. Purport. Our present senses are all made of material elements, and therefore they are imperfect to realize the transcendental form of Lord Viṣṇu. He is therefore worshipped by sound representation via the transcendental method of chanting. Anything which is beyond the scope of experience by our imperfect senses can be realized fully by the sound representation. A person transmitting sound from a far distant place can be factually experienced. If this is materially possible, why not spiritually? This experience is not a vague, impersonal experience, but it is actually an experience of the transcendental personality of Godhead, who possesses the pure form of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. In the Amarakosha Sanskrit dictionary, the word murti carries import in twofold meanings, namely form and difficulty. Therefore, Amurtikam is explained by Acharya Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur as meaning without difficulty. The transcendental form of eternal bliss and knowledge can be experienced by our original spiritual senses, which can be revived by chanting of the holy mantras or transcendental sound representations. Such sound should be received from the transparent agency of the bona fide spiritual master, and the chanting may be practiced by the direction of the spiritual master. That will gradually lead us nearer to the Lord. This method of worship is recommended in the Pancharatrika system, which is both recognized and authorized. The Pancharatrika system has the most authorized codes for transcendental devotional service. Without the help of such codes, one cannot approach the Lord, certainly not by dry philosophical speculation. The Pancharatrika system is both practical and suitable for this age of quarrel. The Pancharatra is more important than the Vedanta for this modern age. Text 39. O Brahman, thus by the Supreme Lord Krishna, I was endowed first with the transcendental knowledge of the Lord as inculcated in the confidential parts of the Vedas, then with the spiritual opulences, and then with his intimate, loving service. Purport. Communion with the Lord by transmission of the transcendental sound is not different from the whole Spirit, Lord Sri Krishna. It is a completely perfect method for approaching the Lord. By such pure contact with the Lord, without offense of material conceptions, numbering 10, the devotee can rise above the material plane to understand the inner meaning of the Vedic literatures, including the Lord's existence in the transcendental realm. The Lord reveals his identity gradually to one who has unflinching faith both in the spiritual master and in the Lord. After this, the devotee is endowed with mystic opulences, which are 8 in number. And above all, the devotee is accepted in the confidential entourage of the Lord and is entrusted with specific service of the Lord through the agency of the spiritual master. A pure devotee is more interested in serving the Lord than showing an exhibition of the mystic powers dormant in him. Sri Narada has explained all these from his personal experience, and one can obtain all the facilities which Sri Narada obtained by perfecting the chanting process of the sound representation of the Lord. There is no bar for chanting this transcendental sound by anyone, provided it is received through Narada's representative, coming down by the chain of disciplic succession or the parampara system. Text 40. Please, therefore, describe the Almighty Lord's activities, which you have learned by your vast knowledge of the Vedas, for that will satisfy the hankerings of great learned men, and at the same time mitigate the miseries of the masses of common people who are always suffering from material pangs. Indeed, There is no other way to get out of such miseries. Purport. Sri Narada Muni, from practical experience, definitely asserts that the prime solution of all problems of material work is to broadcast very widely the transcendental glories of the Supreme Lord. There are 4 classes of good men, and there are 4 classes of bad men also. The 4 classes of good men acknowledge the authority of the Almighty God, and therefore such good men, when 1. They are in difficulty, 2. When they are in need of money, 3. When they are advanced in knowledge, and 4. When they are inquisitive to know more and more about God, intuitively take shelter of the Lord. As such, Naradaji advises Vyasadeva to broadcast the transcendental knowledge of God in terms of the vast Vedic knowledge which he had already attained. As far as the bad men are concerned, they are also 4 in number. 1. Those who are simply addicted to the mode of progressive fruitive work and thus are subjected to the accompanying miseries. 2. Those who are simply addicted to vicious work for sense gratification and so suffer the consequences. 3. Those who are materially very much advanced in knowledge, but have no sense to acknowledge the authority of the Almighty Lord, and thus suffer a lot. And 4. The class of men who are known as atheists, and therefore purposefully hate the very name of God, although they are always in difficulty. Sri Naradaji advised Vyasadeva to describe the glories of the Lord just to do good to all the 8 classes of men, both good and bad. Srimad Bhagavatam is therefore not meant for any particular class of men or sect. It is for the sincere soul who wants actually his own welfare and peace of mind. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 1st Canto, 5th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Sri Narada's Instructions on Srimad Bhagavatam for Vyasadeva.